Welcome back to another episode of Sean and Ed's Do Baseball.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Ed's.
And we are doing baseball history.
That's right, we're a bi-weekly baseball history podcast where the story catcher doesn't know what the story pitcher is out on the mound throwing them.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's you throwing it today.
I didn't come up with an analogy for this one. It was an easy one. But either way, I'm pitching today.
You're pitching. I am
back-to-back outings.
Yep, back-to-back outings. Yeah.
How was Cooperstown?
Cooperstown was cool. It was a bit rainy when we got there, so we kind of rushed inside the Hall of Fame and spent probably 3.5 hours there. My girlfriend there sat a lot. Her back's been sore, so she sat in the car. She walked around for a bit. She put on the electric massage machine and found a few benches around the Hall of Fame while I checked out some stuff.
Oh, what a champ!
Yeah,
shout out to Mel.
Yeah, it was great. Not much has changed since we were there a while ago.
Yeah,
there's a new section I noticed, like more dedicated to the Negro leagues,
which is amazing.
It's just great, and it's been as they're now included as a major league. But what I found was ironic, Sean. I sent a picture of it to you while we were there because one of our early episodes was on
Tom Yawkey.
Tom Yawkey, the racist Red Sox owner.
I think it was, you can call him racist. Definitely the integration of the Red Sox is an interesting story.
Not necessarily,
They were the last, and he definitely, if he was not racist, he surrounded himself by racists. So, you are who you
regardless, are. I'm basically, my point is, I'm pretty sure they took his name off of the street surrounding Fenway Park.
Yes.
And it's very ironic to me that the souls of the game displays is actually in the Yawkey wing of the Hall of Fame. But anyway, that's just something I noticed.
Yep. Baseball
history is complicated, my friend.
It is full of many, many complicated things. All right, where can people find us before we start this wonderful, also shitty baseball history tale?
You can find us at Doing Baseball on Twitter and on Instagram and TikTok at doing.baseball. And I'm on Twitter, x.com, whatever you're calling her these days, at Ed's Do Baseball. And
I'm at Sean Do Baseball. And however you're listening, wherever you're listening, give us a follow, give us a review, do whatever you can to help spread the word, share some baseball love, some baseball history. And also, a big shout out to our sponsor, Two Loons Brewing. You can check them out at twoloonsbrewing.com. I went to a bar the other day. They had Two Loons Lager on tap. I was delighted that they had it because I was thirsty, and it was a wonderful beer. You can get their IPA, you can get their lager at LCBOs or your local establishments. Check them out. Brick and mortar coming soon. twoloonsbrewing.com.
And please be of legal drinking age, and of course, enjoy responsibly.
All right, Eds, we're gonna do this one.
So ready to do some baseball here. You've been kind of telling me all week that I'm possibly going to, I guess, maybe hate a baseball figure that I already dislike.
Yep, absolutely. But I kind of framed this one around a World Series because I was not sure if it was going to be an October one or not. But we have, if you don't know, for October we always do playoff stories. So this one, you get a little extra playoff story this year. So, Eds, after 11 seasons of missing the playoffs, the New York Yankees had made it back to the big dance in 1976.
Okay.
And they got swept by the Reds, the Big Red Machine.
In the World Series.
In the World Series.
Okay.
The next year did not start as well as some Yankees fans could have hoped. The team was good, But after a 9-2 loss to the brand new Seattle Mariners on August 6th, 1977, the Yankees found themselves at 59-49, 5 games out of first place in the AL East, trailing both the Baltimore Orioles and the first place Red Sox.
Okay.
Billy Martin.
So we got like 7 weeks left.
Yeah. And
how many games out? 10?
5.
5, okay.
But they're 10 games over 500. And despite that, Billy Martin, had gotten into a fight with Reggie Jackson at Fenway Park, and all this like crazy shit was going down. It was a crazy season. But Billy Martin and the Yankees would turn things around and go 41-13 the rest of the way, edging out both the Sox and the O's for the AL East crown by 2.5 games.
Wow, it's quite a turnaround. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Big turnaround. During the Yankees' epic finish to the regular season in 1977, a Sports Illustrated reporter by the name Melissa Ludtke asked the Yankees and their staff permission to enter the team clubhouse alongside her male colleagues.
Oh, no.
So, such a request may seem a little bit unusual. Ludtke was a Sports Illustrated accredited journalist. And, I mean, it's Sports Illustrated, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they allow her to have access to the place where all the other reporters are normally allowed to be?
I mean, I'm not going to say it.
Melissa Ludtke was a woman.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
which seems like a crazy reason to say at the time, like these days.
Well, you'll be surprised that the Yankees are not the villain in this situation.
I am very surprised.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
But you probably are not surprised to hear that the baseball writers were an almost all-male fraternity in 1977, and having a woman enter into the clubhouse seemed absurd to most of them, especially the old-timers. Baseball was a man's game, and the clubhouse was full of tobacco-chewing, half-naked, hairy-chested men, and no place for a woman.
Mm-hmm. And if you read literature talking about the early days of baseball, it was a point of pride of how manly the game of baseball was,
and segregated it was.
Yeah.
I mean, we also have our all girls. That was a great back in episode 30-31 as well. Mm-hmm. But to the Yankees' credit, over time, they allowed Ludtke access so she could report on the Yankees' pennant run the same as any other male baseball writer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this was not the first time, actually, though, a woman had broken such ground. There have been female baseball writers going back to the turn of the century, although having to overcome barriers and facing the stigma that women can comprehend the game nearly as well as a man, many women found a way to write about baseball, including Ina Eloise Young and Ida McGlone Gibson. So,
okay,
there's always been women writers and fans.
Of course.
More recently to our story, on October 1st, 1974, in Houston, immediately after the Dodgers defeated the Astros to finish in first place and win the National League West title, KPRC reporter Anita Martini lined up with all male reporters to enter the Dodgers locker room. She was, of course, stopped and refused entry as all her male colleagues filed past her into the clubhouse. Women reporters weren't even allowed on the field at the time, let alone the clubhouse.
Okay.
But Anita persisted and got the attention of predictably Dodgers manager Walter Alston. She asked if she could come and do some interviews. Alston allowed her to come into the locker room, and Martini conducted interviews with Dodgers players Steve Garvey and Jimmy Wynn.
Okay. So she had to get, vouching from the manager.
Basically.
Okay.
So as you can tell, Ed's 1977 is only 3 years later, and although Anita broke that ground, Melissa Ludtke would end up taking on the commissioner and push baseball kicking and screaming into the modern age.
Okay, that sounds about right.
So Melissa,
frankly,
all right. So
even in the 70s, they're resisting. movement into the modern age, if you will.
And we'll get to like how ridiculous it is comparing like other sports leagues and stuff at the time too. But let's talk about Melissa Ludtke. So she's born May 27th, 1951 in Iowa City, Iowa, but she grew up in Amherst, Massachusetts. She was a diehard Red Sox fan along with her family, but said her love for the game was passed down from her mother. She loved her father, of course, but she told Sports Illustrated, and I quote, "It wasn't a love for the game that was father to daughter, which was always the script, always the narrative that we hear, that a love of sports comes from our father." So she's like...
She's challenging that right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her mom did sound like an obsessive baseball fan. According to Sports Illustrated, her mom would write the club requesting copies of black and white player portraits taken after spring training. She would tack them up all around her room so she could sit on her bed at night and listen to the game on the radio, surrounded by the players.
Nice. Just to like add to that, I have a similar experience to that, at least on my mom's side of my family. My mom's mom was a much bigger baseball fan than her dad, at least like on the surface to me anyway. Nanny was like always watching the Braves on TBS.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it is. It's kind of interesting. As she said, she was just like... I think I messed up the quote there, too. I'll do it one more time, just in case. "It wasn't a love of the game that was father to daughter, which was always the script, always the narrative that we heard, that a love of sports came from one's father." Mm-hmm. And it's just like, yeah, that's not always true. In my case, it definitely was my dad. But
I think that's predominantly the story, but she's just saying that it's not, it's not every case, and we're certainly not told that story, or it's not sold to us.
Yeah.
You know.
So she loved baseball, but she also played many other sports. She would say she was lucky to have lived in a northeastern college town that allowed women to play sports at the time. She attended Wellesley College and graduated in 1973 with a Bachelor of Arts in Art History.
Okay.
So as you do with an art history degree after college, you get a different job.
Yeah, okay.
That summer, after graduating, she did just that. After a chance encounter at a dinner party with an ABC sportscaster, Ludtke was set on her path in sports media. She always had a passion for sports, and she soon began working at ABC Sports, and then began writing for Sports Illustrated in the summer of 1975. But it wasn't easy. After initially being turned down at Sports Illustrated, she sent her interviewer postcards from all the major sporting events she was attending on behalf of ABC. After a persistent courting, Melissa finally got the gig at Sports Illustrated.
Okay.
So she's like at the major, like the whatever, like in Augusta for like the major or whatever, and she's just like, "Hey, you didn't give me the job. Like, here I'm here." Then she's like in LA at like UCLA. Big game, sends him another postcard being like, "Yeah, so the next time round."
She's like, I'm doing the job, so you might as well
hire me.
Yeah. Well, so obviously she ends up being good at it, so.
Well, yeah, and she knew it was unusual for women to write about sports for a living, but she was optimistic it was changing. She would tell Sports Illustrated's Emily Bacciarelli of Sports Illustrated in 2018, "My early expectation was when I was young was exactly that. A youthful kind of optimism and hope that things would instantly change. Of course they didn't. They didn't instantly change for women covering sports, and they didn't instantly change for women just working at Sports Illustrated." So.
Mm-hmm. Well, change takes time, I guess.
Well, and that's the thing, is she is a leader. That's why we're talking about her. So she's was often the only woman in the press box at the start of her career, with a number of older writers even refusing to acknowledge her presence. But there were still allies. Melissa was assigned to work beside Roger Kahn, who wrote Boys of Summer, on a piece about old-timers from the game. So she got to travel all over the States with Roger interviewing older guys. Mm-hmm. They went around and on a trip to Chicago to speak with Bill Veeck. She was refused service in the reporter's dining room at the field. Roger was furious and personally spoke to Veeck and scolded him on the policy. And Veeck was like, it's their room, like, whatever.
Would you like some cereal? I offer cereal to everyone every Sunday in the morning.
Anyway.
Will that smooth things over?
They're like, no.
Yeah.
So he's like, you own the stadium. Like,
Yeah, change that shit.
yeah. So the next day,
Did he change it?
Yeah, next day Ludtke served.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And like he made a stand. Like, he was just like, I want to drink and she'll have this. And they were like, no, not her. And he was like, all right, well, I'll take both drinks and we'll go in the hall then. Like, go fuck yourselves. So anyways, she was still a young reporter. And she mostly helped more established writers, as you could guess, while also looking for her own angle to pitch stories. On top of Roger Kahn, Ludtke worked for Larry Keith and Ron Fimwright on baseball. She paid her dues running errands, collecting quotes, and looking up stats for more senior baseball writers. She was also assigned to help with the TV radio column, but in 1977, Ludtke began writing her own pieces profiling baseball players who maybe were going under the radar, including the Padres' Dave Winfield and the Tigers' rookie junk baller Dave Rozema.
Okay.
So she was working as any reporter would.
She's like an early blogger, you know, like
Well, and she's
this is the guy I like. Nobody knows about this guy.
Well, yeah, and you know, I think just you know, the Padres sucked, so nobody knew about Winfield and Rose. I think he threw like 83, like, and everyone was like, this guy's going to explode at some point, but he kept winning throughout the year. So she's highlighting, like, it's very like Fangraphs-y. She's like looking for.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. So she works away. She's making a name for herself. Her bylines are growing. She begins to settle into the New York press scene, and she's making contacts at the Yankees, and even forms a rapport with certain members of the team. Before she got formal access, Billy Martin supported Ludtke and helped her get her job done. Ludtke would tell ESPN, and I quote, "Knowing I couldn't get into the clubhouse, they wanted to help me as best they could. Billy arranged it so that I could go through a side door into his office. I would sit on his couch and ask questions and watch him interact with players and coaches like Yogi Berra."
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So she's not allowed in the actual clubhouse where everybody is.
Yeah,
But she can go in sneak in the side door to hang out in Billy Martin's office.
Yeah.
And pour some drinks and stuff, probably.
Just 4 ounces down, 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Like, listen, you can hang out in my office, but you gotta have a 5 ounce double.
You gotta keep up with Billy.
Yeah.
Yogi Bear is just sitting in a corner, passed out.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't keep up.
What do you think about that, Yogi?
It ain't over till it's over.
Just spit coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. And it's over today.
It's over. It's over, Billy.
Carry on.
So just as a trailblazer before her, she found a way to get her job done, and even, I will say, got a few perks out. Reggie Jackson was happy to give her a quote and all the time she needed, and she would just meet him at his apartment, and he would give her a ride to the ballpark in the back of his Rolls Royce.
All right, that's pretty sweet digs.
Yeah, and just chat about the games and stuff like that, and he's the Yankees' biggest star at the time, right?
He stirs the drink.
Yeah, exactly. But she didn't gain access to the Yankees clubhouse until the waning days of 1977. And they all voted, and they were like, yeah, you can come in. Mm-hmm. So she went about her business as any reporter would, interviewing players post-game, while also writing up the game in the press box alongside her sweaty, bald, testosterone-filled colleagues.
All right. It's one way to describe them, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they got balls.
Yeah.
So, the Yankees, as I stated, won the AL East. They'd go on to face the Kansas City Royals in a thrilling ALCS. The 5-game series went back and forth, with the Royals taking games 1 and 3, and the Yankees countering each time to win games 2 and 4. And they sent it to a Game 5 in Kansas City. With the Royals up 3-2 heading into the ninth, Royals manager Whitey Herzog sent out starting pitcher Dennis Leonard, who had thrown a complete game in Game 3, in the ninth instead of closer Mark Little.
Okay.
The move backfired, and the Yankees scored 3 runs to go ahead and clinch the series.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees go to the World Series, but this time, they're not facing the Reds. Do you know who they're facing?
No.
The Dodgers.
Makes sense.
The Dodgers had been a good team for a long time, but they had played second fiddle to the Cincinnati Reds for most of the past decade, aside from the 1974 season when they had lost to Charlie Finley's Oakland A's in the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
But 1977 had gone much better for the Dodgers, as the Reds seemed to have taken a step back, and the Dodgers owned a 9.5 game lead in the NL West by the All-Star break. They would finish the season 10 games up on the Reds to win the NL West, and would have an easy time as well in the NLCS against the Phillies.
Okay.
Phillies take game 1, 7-5 in LA. Everyone's like, ah. But the Dodgers come back. They win 3 games in a row, stamp their ticket to the World Series. Dusty Baker, MVP.
Okay. What a resume Dusty has now, looking in hindsight.
Dusty has an amazing resume.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always... I think a lot of this season was also highlighted in the Breaking Glenn Burke episode of the Dollop. Yeah,
true.
This is Glenn Burke's on this team. So the first game would take place in New York. As soon as the Dodgers got to town, Melissa Ludtke knew she needed access. And although her press pass said she had access to both locker rooms, she didn't want any trouble. So she approaches Tommy Lasorda, who she had met on that old timers tour.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Hey, I want to be able to go into the Dodgers clubhouse." And
Do you have a side door?
and he's essentially like, shit. Look." And he's just like, "Tommy John. Tommy." And Tommy's the player rep. He's just runs away and is like, "You need to talk to Tommy. He's the player rep." So
Okay, passes the buck.
And Tommy John was cool as fuck.
Okay.
And he actually says, he goes "Hey,
He's like, here, have one of my ligaments.
hear about this surgery?"
Yeah. Right about this.
So he's like, he goes to her, and she goes to him, and she asks him if
It's cool.
and he's like, "Hey, that does make me uncomfortable a little bit, but you have a press pass. So
Who am I?
who am I?" So he told her,
I'm just Tommy John.
yeah. So he goes back to his team,
Ah.
and he's like, "I'll discuss it, and we'll let you know." So the Dodgers put it to a vote, and the Dodgers voted to approve Melissa Ludtke access to their clubhouse. throughout the
Dusty
World
and Glenn
Series.
Burke slapped their hands together, and everyone was confused.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Eds, the World Series about to begin. Melissa Ludtke had everything she needed. She had been courteous and polite. Both teams were okay with her presence, and she could just focus on her job and cover the biggest spectacle in sports, the World Series.
Right. So she's got access just the same as every other male writer.
Writer.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
But Bowie Kuhn had a different
Oh,
idea.
that bastard. Oh, no. He's... Alright. He can't just mind his own business? Everyone's cool.
Yeah, everyone's cool. Why would he have a problem? But during Game 1 of the World Series, news made it to the commissioner that a woman had been spotted in the locker room. Upon hearing the news, Bowie Kuhn's old man mind melted. Why would a woman reporter want to be in the clubhouse? Was she aware that naked men might be in there? What kind of a role model would he be if he allowed women to see naked men? Why would this woman go through all the years of hardship she did in order to establish a career as a baseball writer, when in Kuhn's mind, it was all just a guise to see Lou Pinella's penis?
Oh, my God. I mean, I know you're speaking in hyperbole for a dramatic effect, but it's probably not that far a stretch. I can picture Bowie Kuhn like sitting there with his brain melting.
So Commissioner Kuhn couldn't stand for such things. Ludtke was asked to report to the main press
God
box.
forbid this woman sees penis. I won't rest.
I will not. I can't enjoy this ball game.
I gotta protect the penises of baseball.
Unfortunately, this goes to court, and that's the argument.
All right.
Vice President of Media for Kuhn, Bob Weirs, told Ludtke Kuhn had decided she was banned from every clubhouse in baseball.
All right.
It did not matter that she had a press pass or that she worked for Sports Illustrated or that she had said it was like the teams were cool with it and both managers were cool with it.
Yeah.
Also, to be clear, access to the locker room did not give reporters free reign to just like wander around. Like, you don't have access to the showers. You don't have access to like...
Yeah, no, of
like,
course not.
It's just the clubhouse area where people come like...
Yeah. It's just like any penis she may see would be incidental penis.
Well, and
probably.
There is a great documentary...
Unless someone's committing a crime.
Yeah.
You know? Which
Well,
is
like-
not cool.
Well, but I think the thing was they were just like, oh, it's all dudes, just like dicks out, like let's go. Like,
Yeah.
And there's a great documentary on like women in sports media called like Let Them Wear Towels or something like that. That's just like, yeah, like just you're going from the shower to your locker, like maybe just don't go naked. Anyways,
Maybe have some of the shame.
Yeah.
I mean, not like shame, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
so it's just...
cover up if you're so worried about it.
Yeah, and you're a reporter. You're not in there like just like, you know, you're talking to people. Like if there's a scrum going on of the guy like 3 lockers down and you're getting changed, no one's like staring at you.
Yeah.
Like anyways, so Bowie Kuhn sucks. But for all those out there saying this was like, oh, it's a different time, it was 1977. First of all, we already had one lady that managed to get, like, we know, like, this is not something that they had, like, well, the fact that they probably hadn't thought of it is, like, bad enough in itself. And no, because both the NBA and NHL had both established policies allowing female journalists the same access as their male counterparts at this time.
Okay. So, already done over there.
Yeah.
I go ask those guys.
Yeah. On top of that...
How did you guys work this out?
On top of that, Ludtke had politely asked both teams' permission and had been granted access by like player votes. And it wasn't like 100%, but like they voted.
Yeah, and I'm sure those dudes just like turned around and like, you know, it showed their butts at worst.
Exactly. So, this wasn't good enough for Kuhn, and Melissa protested. Following an exciting 4-3 walk-off win for the Yankees in Game 1. As her male colleagues strode into the clubhouse to interview players at their lockers, she was stopped by a
See some butts.
Yeah, by a lieutenant of the baseball commissioner. She demanded to know why the commissioner was doing this and was told there were 2 reasons she didn't have access. First, they hadn't discussed the issue with the players' wives. Second is that the children of the players would be ridiculed in their classrooms if Melissa was given access.
Okay. I heard that lady at the newspaper saw your dad's butt. Decory.
Wow. Gross. I hear your mom writes for Sports Illustrated. Gross.
That's disgusting. She's a disgusting person.
Oh. Anyways, so she's just like, what the fuck? Like, first of all, she's like, give me an example of an issue Major League Baseball discusses with players' wives before they make. Like, tell me
That's a good
Tell me what you guys know all the players' wives? You
Yeah.
like have them on a newsletter?
What's Mickey's wife's name?
Exactly. So she was of course right. And saying that players' children would be ridiculed is like fucking ridiculous, as you mentioned. But the commissioner's office remained steadfast. Ludtke was not allowed in the clubhouse, and if she wanted to interview players, she could do so in the hallway outside the clubhouse. So Melissa did. She did her best. She had only gotten access to the Yankees clubhouse at the end of the season, so although she was infuriated with the chauvinism and hypocrisy from Kuhn, she put her head down and just did her reporting as best as she could, because she was a professional.
Yeah.
And she's good
What
at
else?
her job.
What else are you going to do? You can't quit.
So
Or she don't want to quit.
she also believed that if she made a fuss about it to Sports Illustrated, it would just prove that a man could do her job easier. So, luckily, I did say there's allies in this story. Peter Carey, instead of reassigning her, Peter Carey's her editor, he finds out. Instead of reassigning her, they fought for her access. But he had just as much luck arguing with the commissioner's office on the matter as Ludtke did. The Yankees and Dodgers split the first 2 games before heading out west for Game 3 in L.A. The Yankees won Games 3 and 4 to take a commanding 3-1 lead before the Dodgers smashed 10 runs in Game 5 to push the series back to New York for Game 6. Excuse me. By the time Game 6 had rolled around, the Sports Illustrated editors and MLB had reached a compromise, which was far from ideal. Melissa could not enter the clubhouse, but she would be assigned a male escort who would bring players out of the clubhouse to talk to her.
What?
Yeah.
So she's like a butler?
She's
like,
a
go
butler.
in there, go get me...
Manslave,
Yeah.
go get me Reggie.
Yeah, get me Red. Go get me Jackson.
And if you're a player and you're like getting changed and hanging out in the clubhouse having a beer after the game, and they're like, "Hey, go in the hallway," and you're like, "Why? I've already done interviews." Like,
Yeah. You're going to get way less interviews.
you're gonna
doing
get
that,
way less, and
if anything.
yeah, and your colleagues all get like the same answers, and you get nothing. They all get to hear the answers from each other, and you are just sitting out there only able to ask your questions.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that doesn't work. And Game 6 of the 1977 World Series, as many may already know, was a game to be remembered, and gave Reggie Jackson the name Mr. October. After going down 2-0 in the first inning, Jackson and the Yankees would battle back. In the fourth inning, down 3-2, Jackson gave the Yankees the lead with a 2-run home run to right field. He would homer again in each of his next 2 at-bats to give the Yankees a commanding 8-3 lead and seal their title as the 1977 World Champions.
Nice.
The party was on. Where's the party, Eds?
New York?
Where's the party in the stadium after a World Series championship?
In the clubhouse?
Yes, sir.
Did they have the goggles? The ski goggles?
I don't think they
Probably
had ski
not.
goggles back in 1977.
Skiing wasn't invented.
No.
Is that what you mean?
The goggle hadn't been invented
There's
yet.
no
Eye
goggles yet.
protection was a new thing.
Yeah. You just skied. You raw dogged skiing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Your eyes froze. That's just how you did it.
You can only go 1 run a day.
So Melissa stood in the hallway as her male colleagues got to run in and capture the celebration and post-series reaction from both teams. She stood there alone, 10 feet from history, no doubt cursing Bowie Kuhn's name.
She's like behind the plastic. She's behind the poly.
Just, guys. Well, she didn't even have a TV. She says in a quote, "I didn't even have a TV monitor to see what was happening, even though people across the U.S. were seeing what was happening on TV."
Oh, man.
So finally,
That's brutal.
she got to speak with the man of the hour. She told ESPN, "I needed to talk to Reggie. I waited out in the hall for 90 minutes. When he finally came out, he said to me, 'I'm sorry, Melissa. I'm really tired and I just want to go home.'"
I'll give you a ride in the Rolls Royce, though. Just don't ask me any questions.
I mean, you just hit 3 home runs and won the World Series. I'm sure Go Home was like, "I need to go and do cocaine and drink a lot of champagne."
Yeah, no kidding.
But
no,
anyways.
I know.
Along with Reggie, Melissa packed it in. The nightmare of a series was over for her, but Melissa's fight for equal access was not. So her editor, Peter Carey, he asked her to write the commissioner and be like, hey, this is fucked up, and like, give me access.
Mm-hmm.
And
dear Bowie, you piece of shit.
When it's clear that Bowie would not budge, Ludtke, and that Ludtke was not only banned from the World Series locker rooms, but every baseball locker room, they went to SI parent company, which was Time, and Time's legal department filed a lawsuit against Major League Baseball for discrimination.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
On December 29th, 1977, they filed suit against Major League Baseball, the American League, and the City of New York, saying that Ludtke's 14th Amendment rights had been violated. The news was sensational, as national outlets picked up the story, and Ludtke found her fight for fair access had become a story everybody had an opinion on. Unfortunately, as we mentioned, most of the media is male, and the dominant narrative in the media is just shitty, being like, oh, some people share Bowie's shitty.
Yes.
She wants to see players naked, or she just like, it's no place for a woman, and, the children.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they treat her like a sex-crazed fan instead of like a serious journalist.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. So she told ESPN, and I quote, I remember going to a Broadway game that night with my parents. A few rows behind us in the theater, a man and his wife were talking about how ridiculous it was a woman would be trying to get into a man's locker room. We could hardly contain ourselves.
They're just like stewing, hearing these people talk shit behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine being in public and someone just like talking shit about your court case behind you. Mm-hmm. So, Kuhn said in the media, I quote, it's not a fair thing for our players. This is an area where they're entitled to some reasonable privacy. It's not fair to the rest of the press, and it's not fair to our fans.
I just, I'm sorry, it just seems like so hypocritical in like this day and age. It's,
well, what, how does it hurt the fans? How does it hurt the fans?
Well, and what, like, I don't understand the level of privacy, like, and, without the assumption that, like, the women in the locker room are up to some sort of devious plot or something like that.
And, like, leering.
Yeah.
But, like, also, it's like, we want men to see men naked.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a
that's
weird,
okay.
That's what we want. Yeah. That's fine. Male strangers to get together and see each other naked and talk about baseball. We can't have a woman in there.
That's crazy talk.
That's crazy. We're a family. Yeah. Families have two naked men talking about baseball. That's how we did this podcast together, Ed.
Yeah. That's true.
So the last part, like, makes zero sense. Like, how is it unfair to the fans? It's just weird. Yeah, and she even like is like conceding in some areas because she's so nice that she's just like, look, like in between batting practice and the game is where I get most of my stuff because I write for a magazine, not a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no one's
like,
getting ass naked then.
Yeah. Everyone's in uniform.
Yeah.
No one's like stripping down and like changing. Anyways.
You got specific rules about that.
Exactly. So it seemed like an easy win for Sports Illustrated. And also remember, Bowie Kuhn is a lawyer.
Yeah.
So it seems like an easy win for Sports Illustrated, but they also still had to argue it in court. Federal cases are assigned to judges by chance, not by choice. But luck was on her side when Ludtke v. Kuhn was given to Constance Baker Motley, the first African-American woman appointed to the federal bench.
Okay.
Now,
seems like someone who might be on your side for a similar...
Sympathetic?
Yeah, sympathetic to your plight.
I have no idea what it's like to work in a male-dominated industry. Oh, I'm the only female judge.
Yeah, ever, so far.
Yeah, so... the first African-American, female judge.
Regardless.
Now...
Even more so.
Even more so. Now, as much as I wish it was like a really like intense like courtroom like drama and stuff like that, it was pretty mundane. Most of the drama goes down in the press. But first off, Judge Motley requests the two parties to just solve the matter themselves, right? That's how most courtroom stuff goes. The judge is like, can you just fucking figure
You guys
this
just
out?
work this out. We'll put you in the same room for an hour.
Yeah.
You guys come out best friends.
So when it's clear that they could not settle the matter, in April of 1978, Judge Motley held a 2-hour hearing in which both sides made their case in front of the judge. Times lawyers on Ludtke's behalf argued her constitutional rights were being violated by Kuhn's banning, and while Kuhn tried to argue that baseball is, and I quote, emblematic of the highest standards of integrity and morality in professional sports, end of quote. And by allowing women into a man's locker room, the MLB would somehow be setting a terrible example for children in America.
Okay.
So it's
He's really reeling from ball 4, man.
Oh,
like
yeah.
ball 4 embarrassed him greatly.
He just won't give way
Yeah.
to the new. Fuck him. Anyways, on top of the arguments, hilariously, Eds, but not surprisingly, it was revealed in discovery that the commissioner's office had not talked to one single Major League Baseball player on this matter.
Okay.
No.
So just a dictator's rule,
Yeah.
if you will.
They had no testimonies from players supporting their stance. They didn't think to gather that or anything. And the players' union did not support the lawsuit,
Of course not.
or did not support Kuhn.
Yeah,
They
of
were
course.
they're like, nah, that's his shit. We're sitting this one out. So Kuhn's argument saying he was doing it for the players' privacy was pretty hollow when it came to the courtroom.
Yeah, well, if you don't have the support of the players you're claiming to be protecting, then your court or your case doesn't really have much to stand on.
Yeah. So Ludtke is.
I'm not a lawyer, but
I'm not. Yeah. I'm not a lawyer.
I
but
watch
if you have
Law and Order whenever I'm on vacation.
We do.
Yeah.
Before I had a family, we used to go on baseball road trips. We'll do it again with the kids. So Ludtke was confident in her case, but worried over the next few months waiting on the ruling. This is something that, once again, it's not like courtroom drama. They come in after 5 minutes and they're like, you win. It's 5 months of deliberation. September 25th, 1978, nearly one MLB season in length later, Judge Motley issued her ruling, and she found in favor of Melissa Ludtke and proclaimed in her ruling that the MLB had indeed violated the equal protection and due process granted by the 14th Amendment by substantially and directly interfering with Ludtke's liberty to pursue her profession as a sports reporter.
Right on. They're like, get out of here, Bowie.
Yeah. Boo.
Yeah, boo. You suck.
Yeah, I probably said Bowie.
Are they saying
Bowie Kuhn a million
Yeah.
different ways, but boo.
They saying boo or Bowie?
Well, they're both, Mr. Kuhn.
I was saying Bowie. Both, Mr. Kuhn.
The precedent was set. So with this ruling, Ludtke's free to do her job, same as any of her other male colleagues, and future female reporters could now use the ruling if ever faced with a barrier to accessing a clubhouse. Though the ruling actually only technically gave Ludtke access to the locker rooms at Yankee Stadium. Ludtke did not celebrate the historic moment and went home and made dinner. Once she saw the ruling was national news, she realized the enormity of the history she had just been a part of. Of course, she thought about her mom, who had passed on her love of the Red Sox and of baseball. Kuhn was an angry old man about it, and of course he would appeal the judgment and lose again.
It's like, just give it up, Bowie. What are you doing, bud?
Yeah, you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
You just and there's some revisionist history about it. There's some books about Bowie that's he just was trying to do it. It's just no, he's
He's a curmudgeon-y old fuck.
yeah, exactly. So Ludtke would leave Sports Illustrated to write for Time magazine a few years later, wrote some books, worked at Harvard, and would adopt and raise a daughter named Maya.
I don't know why, but I thought you were going to say worked at Harvey's.
Worked at Harvey's, the hamburger joint down the street. No, she worked at Harvard.
That makes more sense.
Similar. Yeah. I think Harvard.
I don't think it's similar.
I think Harvard pays a little bit more.
I would hope so.
Most importantly, though, Melissa Ludtke.
Harvey's is like the Harvard of burger joints, though. Fast food burger joints.
There we go.
Right,
Harvey's, give us a sponsor. The Harvard of hamburgers.
Yeah.
I think Harvard might sue you for that, but we're still good with it. So most importantly, Eds, Melissa Ludtke just wrote a book on her experience that was just released called Locker Room Talk, A Woman's Struggle to Get Inside. So I highly recommend the book, and although it may have been wise, all my source material for this was not from the book. It was all from there's Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Baseball Hall of Fame, and also she's on a number of podcasts, including the Sabre podcast from about almost 8-9 months ago. It's a really great resource. Cool. So Melissa Ludtke, still with us, one of the game changers for female journalists and female sports writers. And she just wrote this book. So Locker Room Talk, A Woman's Struggle to Get Inside. It just came out in August. So go buy it. If you're a baseball fan, I'm sure there's lots of great 1970s New York baseball stories in there. Sounds like she was going to the ballpark, whether it was the Mets or the Yankees, like every single night throughout, 75 through like 78, 79. So just some gems in there, I'm sure, on top of course, a better telling of this story.
No, it's cool. I have to check that out. I like stories from that sort of era. I don't have a lot of them, but any of the books I have read or listened to from that time I've really enjoyed. So I'm looking forward to that.
Late 70s, especially, baseball is one of the best times. One of the best. But as you can see, like, baseball just takes so much time to change. So Melissa Ludtke, just not without her. I will say, even still, Kuhn didn't make it, mandatory that teams had to allow equal access, although, he knew he could get sued again if a woman wanted to do it. And, he left, I think, in 84 or 85. And
I was going to ask, how much longer was he?
Yeah, he was,
anyway.
yeah, so they finally, in, 85, MLB finally put it in that,
They actually
teams
wrote
have
a policy.
to give equal access to all journalists, regardless of gender.
Well, it's not surprising that it took baseball a little while. It's weird. Baseball in some ways is kind of groundbreaking, but in other ways it's very, barrier setting.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if that's a word, I don't know. Anyway,
it's
you know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, it will. It's a reflection, but also it's like a reflect. It's like you're looking out into space, because it's not like a direct reflection. It's always hanging back, 10 years. It's always everyone's wow, I can't believe that they don't allow that. And then finally, and then they make a big deal, and they celebrate themselves when they're they're not called the Indians anymore. They're the Guardians. They're the buy stuff.
Yeah.
It's
that's true. They're very revisionist.
Yeah, they're just so they do. They absolutely are. Any kind of change in baseball is very slow, and I think
and often takes a lot of fighting, like you just talked about, right? It takes a lot of fighting to get them to change, and then oddly, like you say, they celebrate after the fact and are, look what we did.
Yeah.
We came up with this idea.
Well, and they're also...
I mean, they don't really say we came up with the idea, but it is odd how they celebrate their change after resisting things for so long.
Well, and whether it's Bowie Kuhn or Mountain Landis or Bud Selig, right? They all preside over terrible things, and then are we made the game better. And you're what? You fucking worked against the game getting better, and you had to get
Yeah, but I did this one thing.
Yeah.
Look at this one thing I did.
There's this one. Let's look at the one good thing. I know there's 5 bad things. And I don't know. I don't think I think it's like if anybody's like, well, they changed the rules, they like change. It's like the rules are one thing, but like baseball culture in itself and like policies, whether it's segregation or women in the clubhouse, because there was still, that's one thing I should say. I meant to put a note at the end here. There is still issues with women getting equal access to this day. To this day, it is not something that's like completely solved. We didn't like, she didn't win the court case, and everything was good.
Not just like in the clubhouse per se. You see it a lot. There's a lot of resistance to women doing like broadcasting and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I see that a lot these days.
Well, it's a tired trope, it feels like these days, but I know for some people it's like common sense, right? And the dumbest way of saying it, right? So I mean, hopefully it you know, but it does take people like this to like dig their heels in and kind of just
You're like, no, fuck that. I'm good. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, like, you know, my last couple stories were about drunk guys, so
Yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say.
I thought this one
it's a nice change up
was a little bit, and we got to talk a little bit about the World Series playoffs coming up. Our team won't be in it, but maybe yours will.
Yeah.
And they'll probably lose because only one team wins.
That's right.
Anyways, until next time, where can people find us?
People can find us on Twitter at Doing Baseball and on Instagram and TikTok at Doing.Baseball. And I'm on Twitter, X.com, whatever you're saying these days, at Eds Do Baseball.
I'm at Sean Do Baseball. And wherever you're listening to us, however you're listening to us, give us a follow, give us a review, give us a rating. Thanks to Two Loons Brewing. Thanks to Baseball Hall of Fame. Just shout out, I guess. Some research for this one, too.
Yeah, and I had a nice visit there. So, yeah, thanks for listening. Until next time.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Eds.
We're doing a baseball.
Okay, bye.